Hello everyone, my name is Alina. I hold a master level degree in linguistics and I've been preparing students for IELTS for 11 years. And in this tutorial, we will cover the vocabulary which will help you to describe a city. This is a very common topic on the second part of the speaking section of IELTS. Usually you get a cue card asking you to describe a city you visited that you liked, or to describe a city you would like to visit, or to describe an interesting city. For all these cue cards, you can use pretty much the same vocabulary, and in this tutorial we will cover this vocabulary. This particular tutorial is for those who are aiming at band 6 and band 6.5. Therefore, the vocabulary that we cover in this tutorial is of upper intermediate level mainly. There are some words which are of advanced or C1 level, because if you want to achieve band 6.5, you do need to include already some C1 vocabulary, but still most of the vocabulary that you use for band 6.5 will be of upper intermediate level. So first of all, if we are talking of a city and you go to visit a city for a very short time, usually from 2 to 4 days, we say that you go on a city break or you take a city break. Actually, a city break is an excellent opportunity to explore a new destination and to immerse, right? To get involved in its culture, to immerse in its culture, or to immerse yourself in its culture. Usually, if you go on a city break or if you take a city break, you can either travel in high season, and high season is the time of the year when most people travel. Like really a significant number of people travel in these parts of the year, and therefore the prices in high season are usually high. We say to travel in high season or to travel during high season. If you are on a limited budget, you should avoid traveling during high season because the prices are high. The opposite of high season is off season, to travel off season. And off season, it means that you travel during the time of the year when fewer people travel and the prices are usually lower. For example, I prefer to go skiing off season because the prices are lower. Now, if you take a city break, you can either plan your trip on your own or you can take a package holiday. And a package holiday is organized for you by a travel company. You pay a fixed price, and this price already includes the cost of travel, the cost of hotel, and even food. But if you plan your own trip, then of course you need to make arrangements and book your accommodation. You can stay in a hotel or in its cheaper version, in a hostel. Hostels are usually cheaper than hotels, and that's why they are very popular among young people. Many hostels have rooms which are shared. So there are several people, several guests staying in one room. But of course, many hostels offer also private rooms if this is your choice. Often people prefer nowadays to rent a self-catering apartment or self-catering accommodation. And this type of temporary accommodation doesn't provide any food. You are supposed to cook your own meals, but there is a kitchen and there are utensils and there are, of course, all necessary equipment that you need to cook. So all cooking equipment is there for you. These options are very popular on Airbnb. When you book an apartment, a self-catering accommodation, and you plan to cook maybe your own dinner, which may be cheaper than eating out in a restaurant every single day, 3 or 2 times a day, especially if you travel in a big company or as a family. Another option for accommodation in a new city is a house swap. A house swap is an instance of exchanging homes with another person or another family. So they come to live in your home and you come to live in their home for the duration of your trip. Now, when you go to visit a city, when you take a city break, you most probably want to see particular landmarks. And landmarks are buildings and places which are well known. For example, the Golden Gate Bridge is a landmark in San Francisco. So landmarks, to see the landmarks with your own eyes. So I went to this city to see its famous landmarks with my own eyes. You can also say to admire the landmarks or to marvel at the landmarks, the same as to admire, to marvel at the landmarks. Another synonym for landmarks is sites. Sites are also places of interest in a particular area. So you can see the sites, you can look at the sites, you can marvel at the sites, and you can soak up the sites, to soak up the sites, to take your time to enjoy the sights, to look at them, to marvel at them. This is to soak up the sights. Also, if you travel somewhere, you usually want to try a local food. And if you travel, of course, chances are you will eat out or you will eat in a restaurant. Right? To eat out. On holidays, people usually pamper themselves. To pamper yourself is, or somebody, to pamper somebody or to pamper yourself is to give this person special treatment to make sure that they are as comfortable as possible. For example, I can say, I decided to pamper myself with the finest steak and salmon. Or we pampered ourselves at a spa. Usually people go on a city break to get away from it all. If you want to get away from it all, it means that you want to go to a certain place, to go somewhere where you can relax and where you can forget about your problems and about your responsibilities. Many people go fishing, for example, to get away from it all. So to get away from it all. To relax, people also travel or take a city break to relax or to unwind and to recharge their batteries. To recharge your batteries is to rest and regain your energy and your strength. To recharge your batteries. So I took a city break because I needed to get away from it all and recharge my batteries. To recharge your batteries. Now, most people, of course, see the most famous sites and landmarks when they take a city break. However, some people prefer to travel off the beaten track or off the beaten path, which means that they want to visit unusual places which are not frequently visited by most tourists. Right. So now also let's cover some adjectives that we can use to describe a city. Well, of course, a very popular adjective that is very commonly used is breathtaking. Breathtaking is extremely beautiful. For example, we had a breathtaking view of the lake from our balcony. Similar one is mind-blowing. If something is mind-blowing, it's really exciting. Mind-blowing. The city is simply mind-blowing. The special effects in this movie are mind-blowing. They blow my mind. On the other hand, the city can be boring or dull. Dull means boring, and your room can be, for example, dingy. Dingy means dirty and dark. Dingy. We had a dingy room in a hotel. Dingy. Usually when you travel to a particular place, it is important that people who live in this place, the locals, are hospitable, that they are friendly to visitors, and that they want to make you feel welcome, and they want to help you feel comfortable in this place. So people can be hospitable, right? Usually cities can be crowded or even overcrowded, lots of people, packed with people. And if the city is not dull, but quite the opposite, then a city is vibrant. It's energetic, there are lots of things to do, lots of things to see, and there is always something going on in this city. So it's a vibrant city, You will never have a dull moment in a vibrant city. Also, when you take a city break, if you want to experience something unusual, then you may want to see some unique places. And unique places are unusual places. Sometimes if you go to a city, you may want to explore its inaccessible or remote parts. For example, some hidden treasures of the city, or maybe some areas like coastal areas or mountainous areas which are not easy to reach. They can be remote or inaccessible. If you are not very lucky and happen to be in a bad area of the city, then you will see lots of run-down buildings. And run-down means in a very bad condition. A run-down building. Or, for example, unfortunately, we ended up renting a dingy room in a hotel, which was in a run-down area. This definitely spoiled our vacation or our city break. Now, let's try to combine all this vocabulary to make a solid band 6.5 response. This is the second part of the speaking section. And this is actually the part which most of my students find to be the most challenging. So now let's try to see what cue cards you can get that ask you to talk about a city. So it's usually describe a city you visited that you liked. And in this case, you are usually asked to mention what city it is, when you visited it, what you did there, and what you liked about this city. There are many variations of this cue card. It can be describe a city you would like to visit, or simply describe an interesting city, or describe an interesting city you have visited recently, or describe a city you have visited recently. They require you to use pretty much the same vocabulary. So as long as you get a good command of the vocabulary covered in this tutorial, you should be able to talk at upper intermediate advanced level describing a city. So let me try to do the first cue card that we've mentioned. Describe a city you visited that you liked. Well, several years ago, I was lucky enough to take a city break in Edinburgh. Usually, I don't travel in high season because I find it unaffordable. However, that year I was so stressed that I simply needed to get away from it all. Initially, we thought of booking a self-catering apartment so that we could save some money by cooking our own meals. However, since it was high season, we were out of luck and all good options had already been booked. So we ended up with a dingy hotel room. On the bright side, the hotel room we stayed in had access to a balcony with a breathtaking view of the main square. Since we had only 4 days to spend in the city, we needed a very well thought out plan. And that also meant that we had to wake up extremely early. And by that, I mean waking up as early as 6 a.m. Since I am not an early bird, this was not an easy task for me. It was a real challenge. But it was worth it. We could marvel at the landmarks before the streets became too overcrowded, and I have to admit that I was surprised that streets in Edinburgh got overcrowded as early as 10 a.m. Now, we spent the first 2 days just strolling in the city and soaking up the sights, marveling at all the historic buildings. On the third day of our city break, we managed to get tickets to the National Museum of Scotland, which was absolutely mind-blowing. It has three floors and full of different, very diverse exhibits. One minute we were marveling at a Viking treasure, and the next moment we were looking at a snake and wondering if it was a real snake that was stuffed or a plastic replica. I am convinced it was the former, however, my friend will disagree. On the final day of our city break, we decided to pamper ourselves, and we pampered ourselves at a spa. Every single day, we had a chance to try local food, and we ate in a restaurant. overall, it was a magnificent trip and I recharged my batteries. I only wish we had spent more time in Edinburgh, and I hope to return one day back to the city and to travel off the beaten track and to explore unique, remote, and maybe inaccessible parts of the city. And I am sure that every part of the city has a story to tell because Edinburgh is really a magnificent and historical city. Now try to use the same vocabulary, the same words to create your own answer to any of the cue cards describing a city that you have already visited, an interesting city, or a city you would like to visit. I would really like to see your answers in the comment section below, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. For now, remember, perseverance is the key to your IELTS success. Bye bye.